Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited that you are joining us in today's video and session of the Voice of Reformation. This is a new African concept, and this is a video and a level of series which we are having to discuss the school of values. Now, if you have been following, and if you haven't, I'll recommend that you check our other videos, because we have started this series on the school of values, where we speak about values that we believe and are necessary for national development and personal development as well. And so in today's video, we are going to be talking about the value of competence. The value of competence. Now, why are we even talking about values? You need to understand this, that nations are not broken because of any other thing or factor, but because of their value systems. If a nation is going to stand, if a nation is going to progress, it will depend on its value systems. That is how important and necessary it is. That is why we are discussing these values, because it starts from the very grassroots and climbs all the way to the very top, and has that capacity to either advance a nation or break it down. So if this is so necessary, then why shouldn't we be talking about it? And I'm glad you are joining me to understand what this is about. And so the value of competence. When we talk about competence, what really is it? The value of competence is the desire and capacity to be efficient in your execution. Remember that. It is the desire and the capacity to be efficient in your execution. And so this is something that we seek and must be inculcated in the African DNA and setting to be able to advance us to the place that we need to get to. Now, when we look at our atmosphere and time as we find ourselves in, you will relate with me that we lack competence, the value of competence in our local setting and in almost everything we do. The last time you took your clothes to the tailor for him to or her to work on it for you, how long did it take for you to get it back? Right? Yes, and it cuts everywhere, from sending your items to the carpentry shop, to trying to get something, ordering something, the time it gets to you, the quality of the work, right? These are things that, like I said before, are at the very grassroots. So from the local artisan to even the government system, the politicians are promising, but when they get into position, they are unable to deliver. The competence level is on the low. And so we must begin to understand how important this is. That's why we call it value, because it is what it is. It is valuable. And so when these things are allowed to thrive, what happens? It begins to affect our productivity as a nation, our ability to get things done, because you may bring forth something, but the aspect of its sustainability becomes the problem. And so what happens is that anytime we produce a product or offer a service, over time, when competence is missing, whatever comes forth from the effort we put in is not sustained. And so what happens is that it becomes something that happens or is procured in the now. It cannot be sustained for generations. That seems to be the issue of Africa at the moment. We start something, we try to advance it, but it is never sustained enough for the next generation to enjoy of it. And that is something that is needed for nations as a whole to be sustained and to progress on, because nations progress on foundations they lay for their generations. And so these are things that we need to be looking at. So how competent are we? Because if this thing is missing, like I said, the productivity is gone, the foundations are weak, there is that lack of attraction for even investors to come in and begin to want to know what is happening, want to invest in what is going on, because they must test whatever service or product that is coming out of our efforts. And competency is what assures that. So when this is missing, this is what begins to break down and keep us in that loop of continual and cyclical poverty and economic drought. So we must begin to consider the necessity and the strength of these things. So when competence is missing, these are some of the effects and consequences that we face when we do not value competence in our daily activities. And so from the teacher to the student to the professional in the office, you go to these offices and there's this lackadaisical attitude to attending to you and getting things done. And that is a problem. So how do we go about all of these things? As I'm talking, don't be too quick to look on the external. Look at yourself as well. How competent have you been in the execution of your duties? In the work that you do, whatever field you find yourself, how competent are you in there? And so remember the definition I gave to competence. It is a desire, not just a desire, but the capacity. So when we talk about the capacity, what am I talking about exactly? There are two things: knowledge and skill. The combination of these two is what will give you a competent man. And so if you are going to be a competent person, or if we are going to cultivate the value of competence, we must begin to pay attention to what it is that feeds this value, which are knowledge and skills. And so whatever that is being given to us, whatever learning process or curve that we find ourselves in, we must invest in it. The time, the effort, the strength, whatever form of investment that is needed. Make sure that you understand what you are doing. If it is a skill you are working on, make sure that you sharpen yourself. You give yourself that time to understand and to inculcate this skill in yourself. And make sure you are either the best or among the best. What the others are doing that we seek to replicate or multiply, is not a supernatural thing. What the white man has done that attracts you to go get it, he is not able to do it because of some supernatural help. It is because fundamentally their value systems are laid in such a way that these are some of the things that they pay attention to. They consider the competency of whatever they put their hands to. And as long as they are men and do not bleed with green, and all of us bleed in red, we too can do that. So I want to encourage you, whatever field you find yourself in, delve deeper than whatever you are exposed to. Don't just subject yourself to what you are given. You are in a field, you are studying to become a professional in a particular field. Go beyond the certification. Understand this. Don't just spend time in what you are doing. Invest in it. Know beyond what you are exposed to. So spend time beyond what you are given in class. Spend time to go beyond that. Understand why you are learning what you are learning. And that is where competence begins to breed. When you go the extra mile to understand, why am I studying this? Why am I being taught this? Of late, we have been circulating these questions, and it's unfortunate the kind of conclusion we have come to. What am I talking about? We start to ask ourselves, so right now, what does pi r squared have to do with what I eat in the morning or how I go about my activities? I did all those stuff in school, the biology of cockroach and the dissection of a rabbit or a mouse. I grew up and I realized that now I'm not doing anything that is related to what I studied in school. And we laugh over it and we think it's funny and we conclude that school is not necessary. But you realize that if you take time to understand why these things are included in our curriculum, it would make some sense to you. Because it is science. It helps you to understand what is going on around you. It opens up your knowledge. It opens up your understanding and helps you to really interact with what is around you and walk as a person of understanding. And so these are things that we must begin to appreciate, and the perspective we must begin to alternate to understand what these things are about. So that's on the knowledge aspect. Now, on the aspect of the skill, whatever you are taught, you can do better. Whatever you find yourself in, you can do more. When you cultivate the value of competence, what does it do for you personally? And in the long run, the nation. It makes you a trustworthy person. You can't be trusted. And when you are trusted, opportunities are open to you. And so, dear viewer, as you watch me and listen to me, I believe that certain thoughts have started being stirred in your mind concerning these things. Don't just end with this video. Think about it. Share with friends. Initiate a conversation in the offices. Initiate a conversation with your friends. When you do that, you are a competent citizen. You're on the journey to being a competent citizen. So cultivate this habit. Cultivate this value. And when you do it, and the next viewer does it, and the next viewer does it, we all will begin to cultivate and harness the power of national development. God bless you, and thank you for tuning in and watching this video. We are the New African Concept. This is the voice of reformation. Watch out for the next episode. We'll be touching on even more values. Do well to like this video, comment on it. We really like to know what you think. Share with friends. And if you'd want to be helped or assisted in any way in cultivating this value, or you want to know more about us, our contacts will be shared. Send us a message on Facebook, or even in the comment section. We will find you and communicate with you. Thank you for joining us. And the transformation of nations is never a mystery. I believe in Ghana. We all believe in Ghana, and so should you. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.